Hello again from my front porch, where it is a beautiful day in Iowa. Actually, a very beautiful day. I have not gotten to enjoy much of it because I've been at work, and my office, when I'm working here at home, is down in my basement where I have no windows, and so I don't get to. It's a good thing too, because if I was able to look out the window and see this kind of day all the time, it would be very distracting. And so it's probably a good thing. But it also gets chilly because it's in my basement. It's in the lower level of the house, and so it doesn't get the warmth like I'm having right now out here on the front porch. So coming out to chat with you here is a welcomed break from my regular work stuff. Not only because it's just good to get up once in a while and walk away from the computer, and do something else, but also because I was getting a little chilly. And now that I'm sitting out here on the front porch where it gets nice and toasty because the sun, hits directly from the south and I get it from the west and from the east, and so this porch warms up nicely, which is really great if you're chilly. In the middle of summer when it's 100 some degrees, it's not quite so nice out here. But right now, it felt really good. I came out here and I was like, ooh, yeah, tingly. Ooh, I can feel my fingers again. What do you know? So this was a much needed oasis for me to come out to for a little bit. But I just had to come do that because I had someone share with me a video. Now it's a political in nature, and I know why they sent it to me, and to an extent I agree with their point, but I got a little bit of a different interpretation from it than what I think they were hoping would be my primary interpretation from it, and that just kind of then, you see something and it just kind of eats at you. It just kind of sits there and you just can't push it aside. It's hard to focus on other stuff because that thing just keeps. Well, that was this, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go do a front porch about this, and then hopefully get it off my brain and focus back on what I'm trying to get done actual work-wise. So here we go. The video that was sent to me was from proceedings in the U.S. House of Representatives by, I believe it's the Judiciary Committee, debating a resolution to express gratitude to local law enforcement for doing their job. Now, if that was the context, I would say it should be a no-brainer, should be a slam dunk, should be unanimous. But see, here's where things went off the rails. And I'm going to tell you what I saw in the video, and then I want to talk a little bit about how I see this as indicative of why our current political system is so broken. So here's what I witnessed. Now, right, if you don't keep up on politics, currently the Republicans are the majority party in the U.S. House of Representatives, which means on a committee like Judiciary Committee, the chairperson is a Republican and the majority of members are Republican. That means it is possible for some things to go through committee and get passed out of committee on strict party line vote and it be just a Republican thing with all Democrats opposed to it. We saw the same thing happening when Democrats were running things. It was flipped the other way around. So it's not like there's anything new or weird or strange happening now. It's pretty much, in my opinion at least, it's pretty much the same old song and dance, just the dancers have changed partners a bit. That's it. So anyway, if it was as clean as what I just described, we want to thank local law enforcement and say, we're behind you, good job. I would hope there'd be no story here. They would just be, yeah, everybody says yes, on with the other stuff. But that's not what happened. You see, the original proposal for the resolution had two pieces. One was, we want to thank local law enforcement for all you do. And the other was, and we want to condemn any efforts to defund the police. Now, that is a very Republican position to take because it wasn't all that long ago that there were people on the other side of the political spectrum, some actually sitting in that room on this committee who were vocally supportive of the efforts to defund the police. You may recall, we scroll back a few years. You can go back into the Obama administration, in through the Trump administration, and we would have these instances where there would be this violent reaction to a police action. Generally, it was a police officer killing a African American male, and in the course of doing their duty, and then before we'd even find out what are the facts of this, what was it legitimate? There would be this immediate reaction that it was racist, that it's the racist police system cracking down on the black community, especially young males in that community. And then so there would be not just protests, but violent riots and all kinds of other stuff. And then out of that came this growth of this movement that we saw especially take shape in Minnesota in the wake of the George Floyd incident, where we saw this defund the police movement. And the idea being, if we reduce the funding that goes into the police, then we can increase the funding going to other, more proactive community programs that will deter crime from even happening in the first place, so you don't need as many police officers. Now, conceptually, I think it's a great idea. I think it'd be wonderful if that could actually happen. If reality would support that, that's a great idea. However, it has now been dabbled with and tried to some extent in different places, and we're starting to see that it doesn't really work that way. That even if you have the community agencies, circumstances are such that they still need police to help them get safely in and out of some of these situations. So that's a whole big can of worms that is going to continue to be discussed. But Republicans, for the most part, were very staunchly against the defund the police, and in fact used it as a negative in a lot of their political campaigning. Well, in more recent time here now, the Democratic Party has tried to carve out more of a pro-law enforcement position and distance itself from the very things that some of its very vocal and high-profile members had previously said in an attempt to build allegiance and solidarity with those anti-Republican protesters, is how they were perceived. So, not surprisingly, the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee wanted to propose amendments to this. Many of their amendments involved striking out that second part, the reference to the defund the police stuff, condemning that, while also adding other things like, the original legislation says we want to commend local law enforcement. Well, we want to add federal law enforcement too, which, again, on the surface, what's the problem with that? No problem with that, except it wasn't just we want to add federal law enforcement, it's federal law enforcement with a specific spotlight on Capitol Hill police who fought so bravely and sacrificed so much during the January 6th insurrection, which is a political point being made, and trying to use this resolution to do that. There was also another one that I saw where they're trying to say they wanted to attach references to gun violence, citing that a number of police officers die every year because of guns, because an incident involving guns. And so if we're going to say we support them, well, then we ought to acknowledge the dangers that they face as well. Again, it's a political motive to work in a reference to gun violence into this. Now, in my opinion, the two topics brought up were not necessarily bad opinions, but they didn't belong with the point of the resolution. And that's actually what the chair of the committee said as well, was that No, they were not germane as the official legal term, parliamentary term for that. They weren't germane to the original motion, the resolution that was on the table. But this is not me just saying, hey, you know, the Democrats, they were at fault. No, they were trying to use it to add on other political stuff. The Republicans started with that. See, again, that first part, we want to commend the law enforcement officials. Hey, no problem. But it was that second part and condemn that was a direct in your face to the Democrats. So the Republicans with this resolution had already started by trying to use we celebrate the police as a vehicle, as a Trojan horse, if you will, to slip in this other point to be made. Now, I don't think either side was in the right on that. It also causes me to question whether either side really meant the first part. See, nobody was debating the first part. They all, like I said, if that would have been the entire resolution, who knows, maybe it would have just went right through, unanimous, bam, all the way through. But that wasn't what they were focusing on. You say, well, it's because everybody was supportive of it. Now, see, I don't know that that's true either. What I do know is nobody in the debate cared about that. They all cared about what they were going to attach to it. What additional baggage they could link to the core legislation, in this case a resolution, and shove through the system as a rider on that initial thing that should have been popular enough for everybody to vote for. Now, I don't know how it ultimately ended. Honestly, I didn't watch all the way through. I'm going to guess, though, that the original resolution with the two parts probably passed through committee on a strict party line vote, and that was it. And it will go to the House floor, and it may pass the House, again on a strict party line vote. So, now we've politicized all of that too. But here's why I'm even talking about this. You see, and I'm taking the time, this is the inner teacher now coming out. See, this is how our system works now. And I don't like it. And now as it's campaign time, you're going to see increasingly these references to things. We already see them now, where you see, oh, did you see so-and-so voted for blah, 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 or did you see so-and-so voted against blah, 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 blah. Yeah, a lot of times it's because the things they're citing either were the main legislation or there was something bundled in on the legislation, and the individual who voted for or against the omnibus that it became were doing so not because of the issue that's being highlighted in the commercial about them, but they were made their vote decision based on something else. In this particular case, if that resolution goes to the U.S. House floor and it votes through on a party line vote, it'll be because Democrats decide none of us are going to vote for a resolution that includes a condemnation of defund the police efforts, because we know we have people in our party, in our tent, that's who they are. And if we vote for this resolution, then we are saying to our own grassroots supporters, the passionate people in our party, we've just dismissed you. We've just pushed you aside. That's not going to fly as we're gearing up to a campaign. No. And so instead, they will vote against it, and then Republicans will go on TV and say, did you see all these Democrats voted against supporting the police? That's the game that will be played. And it is unfortunate because we see this happen all the time. This is just a resolution. I mean, there's really nothing that will happen because of this. Whether the resolution supporting the police passes or not doesn't change anything. Literally changes nothing. There's no spending attached to it. There's no programs that are impacted by it. There's no laws created by it. Nothing. It's just a resolution. That's it. But this game, this Trojan horse amendments, this game gets played all the time by all manners of legislation. Now, if I had the politicians here with me, they would tell you that it's oftentimes done for efficiency. That if they voted on everything individually, well, the docket would just be massive, huge, and they'd never make it through it. I don't really feel sorry for them for that. We pay them to do this job, and if you can find a way to do your job efficiently, quicker, sure, that's great. But I don't believe that this is an example of efficiency. I believe this is an example of manipulation. When you have and I tell you, well, the worst one that comes up is the appropriations bill. Watch, whenever the appropriations bill comes up, the appropriations themselves will be debated some, but they've already been hammered through in committee and all this kind of stuff, and they come out there. The real debate comes in not with the appropriations, but with all of the amendments that get added onto it. Amendments that have literally nothing to do with what's in the appropriations bill. But they will get added because they're using the appropriations bill as a Trojan horse. They know that if the individual members of Congress know, if I submit this little thing that I want to see passed, if I submit this just all on its own, it won't go anywhere. I will never get buy-in for this. I will never get support for this. But if I can sneak it in onto the appropriations bill, well, then it becomes, then it gets put into place because it will get voted, because the appropriations bill gets voted on for approval. That means everything attached to it, all those amendments that are along for the ride, they get approved too. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Now, there's nothing you can do about it, and nothing any of us can do about it. And I mean, even if I ran for Congress and somehow got elected, I couldn't do anything. This is the system. It is the process. And that's why I said way back at the beginning, it is indicative of how the process is broken. Because we hear all the time that politics is all about, compromising and finding middle ground and all this kind of. What it really is a bartering system. Hey, let me add this really pointless, unrelated writer to your legislation, and I will vote for your pointless, unrelated thing some other time. And this trading of votes back and forth that have nothing to do with what is best for any of us. But it's the power game. And you see, this is why this is really weighing on me. And I'm looking at the time on my video here. It's like, Paul, I can't help it. It's an involved topic. It doesn't fit nicely into our meme-driven world. And way too many people don't bother to pay attention to this point. I don't even know how long the video was that I watched, but it was lengthy. And I doubt many people would have watched as much of it as I did. And I told you I didn't even watch all the way to the end. I bailed out. I got stuff to do. I can't spend. But I saw enough of it to just shake my head. This is a resolution to support police. How is this so tough? And everybody on both sides claimed to be supportive of that. And yet, you all are bogging it down and you all are risking its approval because you insist on attaching these other unrelated things so that you can push an agenda, so that you can make a point, so that you can implement something that on its own could not pass. See, to me, that feels like fraud to me, honestly. I know it's totally legal. I know it's the process. I know that the procedures in Congress allow for these things to happen. I just don't think it's right. All right, well, I don't have a solution for it either. Maybe you do. Feel free to comment. But for me, I just shake. And when as you're watching, commercials and you see so-and-so voted for this, so-and-so voted for that, or so-and-so voted against this, so-and-so voted against that, keep in mind they probably didn't just blatantly vote for or against whatever the thing is that's being called out. It probably was one of these Trojan horse amendments that were buried in somewhere, and the legislator voting on the actual bill up for vote might not even have known everything that was in it at the time. Sad, but true. All right, well, now that I've depressed myself, but I do feel better. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I am going to now, and plus I'm warmed up enough to the point that I think I'm sweating just a little bit. So now I'm going to go back, finish working. All right, well, it's been nice chatting with you. I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.